What would you do if the woman who sacrificed her entire life to raise you suddenly felt like a burden in your home? Jack stood by the edge of the bamboo drying rack, watching his mother, Ly, carefully wrap bags of dried bamboo shoots. Next to her was Tu Tien, the girl who had silently endured every hardship by Jack's side without a single complaint, without even a formal title to her name. To anyone passing their quiet courtyard, it looked like a peaceful morning, the gentle steam rising from boiled vegetables, the distant bark of a newborn puppy, and the calm rhythm of daily life. But beneath the surface, a quiet pain was tearing at Jack's heart. His mother was preparing her belongings, not for a vacation, but to move into a tiny, solitary house down the road. Why was a mother who gave everything now packing her bags to leave? And why were Jack and Tu Tien keeping a life-changing secret from her until the very last moment? The morning sky hung heavy with gray clouds, threatening rain over the rural homestead. Ly's hands trembled slightly as she smoothed down a plastic sack. "Tien, my dear," Ly said softly, her voice carrying the frail weight of her aging years. "Make sure you tie these sacks tight. If the rain comes, the moisture will ruin the bamboo. Take some down to Brother Dung's house later, too." "I know, Mother," Tu Tien replied, her eyes filled with gentle concern as she carefully gathered the dry shoots. "You don't have to worry. Jack and I will drive you down to Uncle Dung's place right after noon. But are you sure you don't want to stay a few more days? The new house is still quiet, and the dust hasn't even settled." Ly forced a small, reassuring smile, though her eyes glistened with unshed tears. "I'm old now, Tien. I only slow you two down. You and Jack have worked so hard to build your own life. It's time I get out of your way." "Mother, please don't say that," Tu Tien murmured, placing a hand over Ly's rough, calloused palm. "You could never be a burden to us." Before Ly could answer, footsteps echoed against the stone path. Jack walked around the corner, carrying a heavy woven bamboo backpack. He had just finished a phone call with Uncle Dung, confirming that the key to the small house was ready. Seeing his mother standing amid packed bags and bundles of dry bamboo, a sharp pang of guilt stabbed through his chest. "Everything is set, Mother," Jack said, keeping his voice steady despite the emotional storm inside him. "Uncle Dung will be at the property by early afternoon. But before we leave, Tien and I need to harvest the remaining melon crop down at the lower field so we can take it to the market." Ly looked at Tu Tien, noticing how thin the girl had gotten over the past few months. "Go on then," Ly urged gently. "Jack, make sure you don't let Tien carry anything too heavy. Look at her, she's worn herself out taking care of this household." "Take good care of her." "I always do, Mother," Jack whispered, looking deeply at Tu Tien. There was something unsaid between them, a silent promise made late last night under the dim lamp of their small wooden cabin. Leaving Ly to gather her few remaining clothes, Jack and Tu Tien walked down the narrow dirt path toward the melon patch. The air was cool, carrying the sweet, earthy scent of ripe fruit and damp soil. Rows of golden melons lay scattered beneath broad green leaves. "Here, try this one," Tu Tien said, slicing a small, sweet melon with her pocket knife and handing the crisp piece to Jack. "It's ripe and cold." Jack took the slice, but his eyes remained fixed on her tired face. "Tien, look at you. You've been running yourself ragged. Between helping Mother, clearing the old house, and working the fields, you haven't rested for a single day." "I don't mind the hard work, Jack," she smiled softly, wiping a bead of sweat from her forehead. "Having a home, having a family to care for. It's more than I ever dreamed of, but seeing Mother pack her things today breaks my heart. Are you sure this is the right way?" "Trust me, Tien," Jack replied, his voice firm with a deep, hidden resolve. Mother thinks she's moving away to give us space. She thinks she's sacrifice number one. But today we give her back everything she gave us. They filled the woven basket with yellow melons, carrying the heavy load straight to the bustling local market. Side by side on the dusty roadside, Jack helped Tu Tien call out to passers-by. Within an hour, their basket was empty, the fresh produce sold to eager neighbors. Yet, despite the small earnings in their hands, both of their minds were miles away, anchored to the frail woman waiting alone back at the house. By early afternoon, the sky had cleared just enough for sunlight to filter through the trees. Returning home, Jack loaded his mother's worn wooden trunk and 2 small plastic crates into the back of the vehicle. In one crate nestled 2 tiny puppies, one pitch black, the other bright yellow, wrestling playfully against the straw. "Take them along, Mother," Tu Tien said, placing the yellow pup into Ly's hands. "Uncle Dung's farm has plenty of room, but this little one will keep you company, so the house never feels empty." Ly held the squirming puppy against her chest, her lips trembling as she stroked its soft fur. "You children think of everything," she whispered, stepping into the car with a heavy heart. To her, this journey down the winding rural road felt like a final departure, a quiet step into the background of her son's life. 10 minutes later, the car pulled up in front of a charming single-story home nestled behind a wrought iron gate. Red bricks, lush greenery, and vibrant climbing flowers draped across the porch. Uncle Dung was already standing by the front steps, holding a folder of official papers. Ly stepped out of the car, looking around at the peaceful yard in quiet shock. "Dung, this place is far too grand for an old woman like me. I thought I was just staying in your old caretaker's shed." "Grand?" Uncle Dung chuckled, shaking his head warm-heartedly. "Lo, my sister, this isn't my house anymore. It hasn't been for weeks." Lo froze, turning to look at her son in utter confusion. "Jack, what is your uncle talking about?" Jack walked over to his mother, taking her small, trembling hands into his own. He signaled for Tu Tien to stand beside them. The breeze rustled through the flower garden, carrying a sacred silence over the yard. "Mother," Jack began, his voice thick with emotion. "Ever since I was a child, you gave up every comfort so I could have a future. When trouble came, you stood in front of me like a shield. When we were poor, you ate the scraps and gave us the feast. You thought today you were leaving our home, so you wouldn't be a burden to us." He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out an official land deed, placing it gently into Ly's calloused, shaking hands. "This house isn't Uncle Dung's. Tien and I worked day and night, saved every penny from our crops and business to buy this place for you. It's fully renovated, fully furnished, and completely paid for. And as of this morning, the Red Book title is registered entirely under your name, Ly." Ly stared down at the stamped official paper, her eyes widening in disbelief. Tears welled up instantly, spilling over her weathered cheeks. "Jack, Tien, no, you couldn't. How could you spend so much on me? You two need to build your own future." "Mother," Tu Tien interrupted gently, wrapping her arms tightly around the crying woman. "Giving you a peaceful, beautiful home is our future. You are the foundation of this family. Without you, nothing we build matters." Ly clutched the paper to her chest, sobbing quietly as the heavy cloud of feeling unwanted dissolved into overwhelming warmth. But Jack wasn't finished. He stepped back slightly, taking Tu Tien's hand and looking straight into his mother's emotional eyes. "There's one more thing, Mother," Jack said softly, his voice trembling with deep devotion. "For a long time, Tien has lived with us, working beside us, caring for you as if you were her own mother. Yet, because of our past struggles and financial hardship, I have never been able to give her the honor she deserves. People in the village whisper, asking why she stays without a promise. Ly held her breath, wiping her tears as she looked from Jack to Tu Tien. I don't want people to question her place in my life anymore. Jack continued, looking deeply into Tu Tien's emotional eyes. Tien has shared every grief, every cold morning, and every hard harvest with me. Today, in front of you and Uncle Dung, I want to formally ask for your blessing. Next week, Tien and I are registering our marriage. We will give her the legal, honorable status of my wife and your official daughter-in-law. The wedding celebration will come when the harvest is in, but from this day on, she is officially family. Tu Tien gasped, her hand flying to her mouth as tears spilled freely down her face. She had worked beside Jack for years, never expecting grand speeches or lavish gifts, only wishing to protect the man she loved. Hearing him stake his honor and declare her his wife in front of his mother was a debt of love repaid tenfold. Ly took both of their joined hands, pressing them between her own trembling palms. "Oh, my children," she cried, her voice broken with pure joy. "I have prayed for this every single day. Tien, my sweet girl, you were already my daughter in my heart, but now the whole world will know it. Thank you. Thank you both for giving an old mother so much peace." Uncle Dung clapped a heavy hand on Jack's shoulder, a bright smile on his face. "Well said, nephew. A real man takes care of his mother and gives honor to the woman who stood by him in the dark. Now enough tears. Look at the afternoon sun. We have a new house to celebrate and a marriage to prepare for." The tension that had hung over the morning evaporated into laughter and warm tears. Together, the four of them stepped into the bright, clean living room. Tu Tien immediately went to the kitchen to boil fresh water, while Jack helped his mother settle her clothes into the master bedroom closet. The tiny yellow puppies scurried across the polished wooden tiles, chasing after a stray leaf blown in from the garden. As the late afternoon sun began to dip behind the purple mountains, casting a golden glow over the tranquil yard, the small family gathered around the wooden dining table. The simple smell of steamed bamboo, warm rice, and fresh tea filled the house, a home built not out of mere bricks, but out of quiet sacrifice, enduring loyalty, and unshakable devotion. Jack looked across the table at Tu Tien, who was smiling softly as she served a hot bowl of soup to his mother. He reached across the wooden surface, lightly touching her fingers. She looked up, her bright eyes reflecting the warm evening light, carrying no more doubts, no more fear of the unknown, only the calm certainty of a shared life, a true home, and a love that had survived every storm.